I just wanted to make some more points about health and living in the Philippines. First of all, one of the stats I think is very important to understand in terms of how NHS is working. I can only talk for the UK basically. Rufus is outside again. The UK, obviously its busiest time frame tends to be at weekends when it comes to things like A&E. But significant amount of, and percentages are extremely high for obesity and extremely high for alcohol related. So self-inflicted issues are a very high percentage of emergency treatment that goes on in UK hospitals. Extremely high. Self-inflicted to a large degree. Now you could say, well, that happens everywhere. Yeah, probably does. But it is extremely high and takes up a lot of the attention in the area of hospitalisation. When it comes to age, young children under the age of 4 years old and people 80 years plus are the ones that would use A&E the most when it comes to non-related obesity and alcohol issues, which I would also expect it to be higher there. And we're taking other things out, but still relatively low compared with, 30 to 50-year-olds seem to be very close to 80-year-olds when it comes to A&E as well. Now, you know your own body, okay, or should know your own body, and therefore know when something like an emergency treatment is required. They say when you get to 80 plus, falling down in the UK, breaking a hip, damaging yourself when you're going out to the shop in the ice and snow, slipping on a pavement, this sort of stuff is very common. So A&E goes up in the winter when there's a lot of treacherous walking conditions around for old folks walking around the town to go and buy their vegetables or whatever the case is. This happens a lot in the UK, and that increases going to get your pension at the post office, whatever the case is. These things happen. The point I am making about healthcare is you have to take responsibility to a large degree for yourself when you come to the Philippines. You don't have paramedics that are going to arrive at your house within 4 minutes anywhere in the country, not even in Manila. It's not going to happen. You get better medical services in the cities compared with the rural surroundings that I'm in, there's no doubt about it. But you're not going to have the kind of service you have in Western Europe, even in the UK with the NHS. It is nowhere near that kind of service. And you should therefore take responsibility for your own health. That means, stop it, Izzy. That means taking responsibility for your diet and how much you're drinking, how much you're smoking, how much exercise you're getting. Regular health checks with your bloods, etc. So regular, at least every 12 months, I would say. So you're looking at things all the time that are potentially could be going out of kill. Checking your cardiovascular, checking your blood. Now, these things don't cost a lot of money here in the Philippines. These are maintenance issues that you should just check. Preventative medicine, as we would call it. It's something that you should do. Now, if you do these checks on a don't wait for your doctor to tell you to do them yourself. Working abroad most of my life, having to go to different countries, I was in my 20s when I went to South Africa to work, and you had to have medicals before you left the UK to go and work in another country. Of course you did. They weren't going to let you in unless they knew you were fit and healthy. You couldn't get through immigration. And therefore, it became a norm. Working in the Middle East, exactly the same thing. Every year I'd have a annual medical. And of course, if I was in a position to see things before they happened, I could do something about it. And I kept that routine of going to the doctor once a year and having a medical, bloods, cardiovascular, all the time, every year, without fail, even if I felt good, even here now. That's the thing you have to do. You have to get into that habit, not waiting for something to go wrong and then going to the doctor or hospital, because then it's not, I'm not saying it's too late then, I'm just saying you could have prevented something by doing it sooner. Now when you come here, compared with the UK, you've got fantastic weather. The heat does make the blood thinner, so those of you that take blood thinners, be aware of that, of course. I mean, well, your doctor would be aware of it anyway. But there are things to you if you are on a standard medication, and a lot of us are when they're in their 60s plus, in the UK anyway, because they give you pills for everything. Just your medicines here, yeah, you pay for it, but it's not a lot of money. You don't have to pay a lot for a lot. There's not a lot being forked out for medicine here. Pennies. And doctor's appointments, GP appointment, where you have an assessment to check. You're talking a $4 to go and see the doctor. So it's not a lot either. There's no money cost there. Blood tests also, which you're talking for a full set of blood tests, under 1,000 pesos. Where we go, the lab I go. So it's not, it's not break the bank stuff for that. It's worth it. It is worth having it done and getting into that habit, knowing your body. I'm not saying emergencies can't happen. Of course I'm not. What I am saying, you can take ownership of a lot of stuff that would go on. If I think about, when did I go into A&E last? Well, the only time I've been in A&E in my adult life was 20 years ago. I suddenly felt a tremendous pain in the back of my lower leg, left leg. And it was like a chronic, sudden pain. I was on the ground, and it was painful, it wasn't going away. I just didn't understand it. I never had that feeling before. Terrible feeling. But around the ankle area, it was just absolutely agony, killing me, absolute agony. Anyway, I got to A&E, and they assessed it. Well, I had to hang around in pain for a long time, and people would, they could see I was in agony. And I thought, is it DVT or, a blood clot or something like that in the leg, or I didn't know what it was. Turns out I'd ruptured my Achilles tendon. That was the only time I'd been into A&E in my life. All the ailments people concern themselves with here, food poisoning, bug bites that go septic, and they, where they feel they end up in hospital. Yeah, you get those things. I mean, you don't need to go to hospital for food poisoning unless it gets really bad. Let me add, if you really get buggered up and you don't deal with it correctly, the same with bug bites or snake bites or whatever the case may be. If you allow them to really go septic and bad, it can. And in the country, in the rurals, it doesn't happen so much in the cities, in the rural surroundings, you are going to have those exposures at times. Of course you are. I can live with those. I do live with those. Actually, I don't even go to the doctor when I have those. I treat them myself. We've got various treatments we have here, both medicine, that be from the pharmacist, and the natural grandma's remedies as well, which seem to work pretty well as well. We do with moringa and guava leaves and and all kinds of things that seem to do the job well with bites. I mean, yeah, you get bitten by, it's not just mosquitoes here, it's all kinds of things that love to take a chunk out. Show the spider. First of all, you've got to communicate with it. Do you speak English? If we're really reliant on hospitals and hospitalisation, and we feel we're going to need hospitals on a regular basis, I wouldn't come to the Philippines, at any age. It wouldn't be the right place to come to, certainly to live. Holiday maybe, but not to come and live here. I wouldn't recommend it. But don't write off 70-year-olds and 80-year-olds as all needing hospitals every 5 minutes, because they don't. If they're looking after themselves, they are in, they know what they're doing. And people that are worldly, that have done a lot of travelling around the world, and know how to deal with themselves, and know how their bodies are working, and know what precautions they need to take, and how they must respond in different conditions, like drinking plenty of water to ensure you remain hydrated, and knowing how to treat bites when they happen, and not leaving them until they go septic, and all these kind of things. You're going to be fine. You're going to be fine. Don't overdo the alcohol. Don't eat too much fatty food. Saturated fats. You're going to be okay. Get plenty of exercise. I mean, it's a very healthy environment here, actually, if you allow it to be. It can also be a very unhealthy environment if you allow it to be, and that's why. But I think it's the opportunity to be healthier here in the Philippines is better, greater than being healthy, trying to be healthy in the UK, where you've got those very long, dark, wet winters. Have a better state of mind. Now, if you're going to worry about hospitals, I need to be closer to a hospital, you're not in the right mindset to come here, I would say. Somebody said, if to come to the Philippines, you must have at least £90,000 in savings. Well, with a mindset like that, don't come to the Philippines, I would say. Don't do that. Don't. And that's untrue. I would say that's nonsense, actually. Live a life like your grandmother used to live, like your grandfather used to live, like your great-grandfather. That's what you've got to do. Forget about the modern world in the UK where people can overdrink, overeat, don't do any exercise, and come here and think, well, everything will be okay here like it is there. You're heading for a disaster if you do that. But if you come here with a responsibility of your health, you will be fine. That's what I say.